Hi, and thanks for joining us for another one of Family and Marine's videos. My name's Tom, and today we're down in Bristol, Indiana at the Barletta Pontoon Manufacturing Company. Now, I know that many of you may not have ever heard of Barletta pontoons before, but I gotta tell you, these guys are the up-and-coming brand in pontoons. They have lit the industry on fire. Oh my gosh, the style, the appearance, the quality, the comfort, the ergonomics, everything about the Barlettas is just unbelievable. I know that sounds like salesman's rhetoric, but you know, you got to check these things out. Don't judge what you see in these videos or in photos. Don't judge the Barletta by that, because I'm here to tell you they are way nicer in person than what you'll ever see in a video or any photographs or online or whatever. Whatever you're doing, stop, jump in your car, drive to your nearest Barletta dealer and take a look at these things. They're amazing. But really the reason I'm here at the factory today is to talk about Barletta's chassis. Barletta is constructing a chassis that is so far different and superior to other brands that are on the market. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. So I got to talk about it. And the beauty of these chassis is the benefits that it gives you, the customer. What we're seeing with their chassis, and I'll show you why, is a smoother, a quieter, a vibration-free chassis or pontoon that gives you that wow factor when you get into a Barletta. You're driving across the lake. So it's amazing what they've done with their chassis. Now, the amazing part is the materials that they're using for the cross members. Okay, this is an example. This happens to be a C-class Barletta. Barletta makes 3 different levels. They make a C-class, they make an E-class, and they make an L-class. And there's a different chassis construction for each model. Now, depending on the chassis construction is going to determine the horsepower rating that the boat will handle. Not only does the length of the boat determine the horsepower rating, but the chassis construction determines the horsepower rating. So, starting out with the C-class, one of the things that they're doing is they're using 3 different cross-member designs. They're using a C-channel, they're using an I-beam, and they're using a double I-beam. So let's start with the C-channel first. I'm going to say a huge percentage of the pontoon industry uses nothing but C-channel. This is 1/4 inch by 3 inch C-channel. This is very common in the industry, and they're using every one of them. Now, some companies are putting them every 16 inches, some companies are putting them every 24 inches. Okay, so in a C Barletta, they're using a C-channel, a C-channel, a C-channel. Every other one is a C-channel. Okay, but starting up in the front, they're using a double I-beam, which the structural integrity of this double I-beam is massive. I mean, it's absolutely amazing how much strength and rigidity there is to this double I-beam. And then they're also using a single I-beam. Okay, so we got double I-beam in the front, we got double I-beam in the back, we have multiple I-beams going down the center, and we have a few C-channels. Now, why is this important? The reason that this structure is important because pontoons have a tendency of twisting and flexing, particularly when you're in a longer boat, particularly when you have higher horsepower, particularly when you have a heavy load in rough water conditions. We don't want boats twisting and flexing. What happens when they twist and flex is things loosen up. Squeaks occur, rattles occur, screws come popping out, bolts come undone. That's all due to twisting and flexing. Welds break, things like that. We don't want the chassis, the backbone of our pontoon, to twist and flex. And that's why Barletta does the type of chassis that they do. The other thing that they're doing, which is I've never seen it in the industry before, is they're putting rubber pads between the cross members, and this is what's called a saddle bracket. Okay, saddle bracket is welded onto the top of the tube, and a cross member is bolted to the saddle bracket. So they're using a vibration isolation pad in between the saddle bracket and the C-channel to eliminate vibration. Upward motors tend to vibrate a little bit. Even as smooth as the new 4-strokes are, they still have a little bit of vibration to them. And these vibration isolation pads are eliminating that vibration that you get from the engine. Okay, so that's our C-class. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to show you the difference between a C-channel, an I-beam, and a double I-beam. Now again, this is the most commonly used cross member in the pontoon industry. A lot of manufacturers, not all, but a lot of manufacturers use a series of 1/4 inch thick, 3-inch C-channels. Now, as you can see, we've got it in the vise down here, and one of the negative things about it is its flexibility. Notice how much that flexes. That's quite a bit. And if you're in a big pontoon with a lot of people and a high horsepower motor on a big rough lake, you're going to get some deflection in the cross member. Notice this. Notice how that twists. Look how much I can twist that cross member. That's a lot. Again, as your boat is pounding across the rough waves, heavy load, high horsepower, that's what's going to happen to some of your cross members. Now, let's take a look at Barletta's step up from the C-channel. Okay, this is a piece of the I-beam that Barletta is using. Now, my vise is a little loose back there, so I do get a little bit of wobble. But you can notice that I'm moving that bench. Look at that bench move back there. This I-beam isn't moving at all. When I latch this on and I go to twist it, like I did that C-channel, I get about half the amount of movement out of this I-beam as I did that C-channel. So again, the structural integrity of an I-beam is far superior to that of a C-channel. Let's try the double I-beam. Okay, so now we have a piece of double I-beam in here. Again, my vise is a little bit sloppy, I got some movement in there, but as I grab onto this, that bench, our whole bench is moving on it. All right? So I take my pipe wrench on double I-beam, and look at that! There's no twisting to that, baby. That is solid, man. Again, I'm taking my 400 horsepower motor on my L25 UC across Green Lake, wide open throttle. I don't have to worry about my deck flexing, my cross members twisting. I'm getting that smooth, comfortable ride without any vibration through the boat, all because of the structural integrity of the chassis. Okay, here we have an L class. I believe that this happens to be an L23. Now, the L class chassis is a little bit more rigid than what the C class is. Take, for example, the C class is only rated up to 200 horsepower, where a 25-foot L class is rated to 400 horsepower, and we're hoping, I didn't tell you this, but we're hoping that the new L25 is going to be capable of handling the new Mercury 450 V8 supercharged 4.6 liter engine. Yes, I said that. 450 horsepower on a 25-foot pontoon. Strap me in, I want it, baby. Let's go. But here's the reason that Barletta can do that and others can't. I talked over there a little bit about the double I-beam. Again, we have a double I-beam in the bow of the boat because this is the area of the boat that cuts through the waves, that does a lot of the pounding. So we need that extra structure there. We go to our 1/4 inch thick C-channel. We go to a double I-beam, C-channel, C-channel, double I-beam, C-channel, C-channel, double I-beam, C-channel, C-channel, double I-beam, double I-beam, double I-beam, double I-beam, double I-beam, double I-beam, double I-beam. That, my friends, is why you can get, hopefully, a 450 horse. We know we can get a 400, we got them in stock. We hope that we can get a 450 horse on here. And I'm sorry, if you don't have this kind of construction to your chassis, the backbone of your pontoon, you can't get that kind of horsepower rating. Now, I understand that not everybody's going to want a 400 or a 450. I get that. But you know what? Our most popular engine on a 25-foot Barletta is a 300. Okay, so let's say we have a 300 on there. Is this still going to benefit you? Absolutely. Again, it's eliminating the vibration, it's eliminating the twisting and flexing that a pontoon tends to have. The ride comfort, the satisfaction of ownership is much higher, all because this chassis is so strong. Okay, another one of the reasons that Barletta can get such high horsepower ratings on their pontoons is because of the length and size of the stern M bracket, saddle brackets. Some people call them M brackets, some people call them saddle brackets. The thing that you'll notice about the Barletta chassis is this is one long piece of extruded aluminum. It's kind of shaped in an M, so this is one side of the M, this is the other side of the M, and of course that's welded onto the top of the tube. But golly, that one piece of saddle bracket comes all the way up to this cross member, all right? So I don't have a tape measure with me, I'm gonna say it's roughly 6 feet long. In retrospect, what other manufacturers do is they might use a 6-inch piece of saddle bracket, a 6-inch piece of saddle bracket, etc., etc., etc. When we have this one long piece of saddle bracket, that adds an immense amount of structural integrity to the chassis of the pontoon, and that's another one of the reasons that we can get such high horsepower ratings. And as I said earlier, I'm hoping, this is a little bit premature to be talking about this 450 on a 25-footer, because we were told yesterday at the dealer meeting that they're not sure if they're going to be able to do it or not. They think they are, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'd love to see it happen because, yeah, I love big power on a pontoon. One of the other reasons is the transom. The structural integrity of this transom is really, really beefy. We've got a full 2-inch thick transom. We've got a double extruded transom on the inside. We've got gussets going down each side on the outside and a double gusset going down into the center of the transom. And then that is welded into a plate, and that plate is welded onto the hull or bottom of the center tube. And then up in this area here is where the gas tank goes. This is a mount for a fuel water separating filter. But again, as we scan this chassis, look at the amount of cross members that are welded into place. Yes, they do use some C-channel in these pontoons. That double I-beam or even that single I-beam that the C-class uses is very expensive stuff. It's heavy. I lifted one of those double I-beams. I don't know how much it weighs, but it's amazing how heavy that chunk of aluminum is. Now, the one model that we didn't talk about is an E-class. Now, I showed you on the C-class how they use all three types of cross members, the C-channel, the I-beam, and the double I-beam, where the E-class uses all double I-beam, no C-channel at all, but they're 24-inch on center, okay? Where these are at least 16-inch on center. So that's the difference between an L-class, the strongest chassis they have, the highest horsepower rating that they have. The E-class uses all double I-beam, but 24-inch on center, where the C-class uses a combination of C-channel, I-beam, and double I-beam. Oh, I happened across this as we were walking inside, and I wanted to take a video of this. This is a sample of the vibration isolation pads. It's a rubber pad, and again, you can see kind of the lines where the I-beam was mounted on this one, and for some reason they took it off. But so the I-beams or cross members all get mounted to these rubber vibration isolation pads, VIP pads. And that's one of the things, again, that helps eliminate the vibration from the motor, or even from pounding into rough waves, from going through the tubes into the pontoon itself, so you get a vibration-free ride. Again, here's another example of the saddle bracket, the 6-foot saddle bracket, solid all the way from the back of the pontoon up about 6 feet, where others use 6, 8-inch pieces, and we have one long one. That way we have the structural integrity where others don't. Okay, I keep on finding things to talk about before I go inside to show you the structural integrity. You have the C-channel, I-beam, and double I-beam. One of the things that we hear from one of our major competitors is the method that they use to attach their flooring, which is pressure treated plywood, to the cross members. One of our major competitors uses what we call an elevator bolt, and here's a photo of an elevator bolt. And a lot of the other competitors use what's called a tech screw, self-drilling screw. So here's a photo of a tech screw. So this other manufacturer brags an awful lot that they use a elevator bolt to attach their wood floor to their cross members. So what, and there's a nut and a washer that go in the bottom of the elevator bolt. So what they're doing is they're taking this large-headed elevator bolt, it's a flat head, and they're drilling a hole, and they're putting a nut and washer on the bottom, and they're drilling a hole, etc., all the way across the cross member. Now, they think that's a huge advantage, but here's what happened. I happened to be putting a set of sea legs on one of the competitors' boats, and I got up underneath there, and I started counting the number of elevator bolts that they were using in their standard 22-foot pontoon, and I counted 76. And I think that that's acceptable. So then I took a pontoon that was using tech screws, and I counted 342. Well, wait a minute. I have a hard time, I struggle to believe that 76 elevator bolts is better than 342 tech screws. I mean, it's 3, 4, 5 times the amount of fasteners that they're using to attach the decking to the cross members. Now, of course, they're using C-channel, all right? Where one of the reasons that Barletta is using the double I-beam or the single I-beam is because the joint in the plywood is always on top of a double I-beam or a single I-beam cross member. That way, we don't have water intrusion as we're driving across the lake coming up in between the joints of the plywood. Others do. So what others do is they put a plastic spray water deflector on the front of the plywood.